If you look at this whiskey bottle and the glass, you will realize that this is great artwork. I love the looseness of this and the overall composition, the shades, the value we brought in here, uh, and this is perfect artwork. But let me tell you that there is a basic fundamental problem here in terms of the layering, um, especially for the beginners who is looking to enhance their ability to paint a good watercolor art in terms of understanding the basic layering techniques. So I'm going to bring that up here into this, and that's the reason you see here. I've just given the comparison. What is the problem? Whatever the problem we are finding in here, we'll just bring in here for you for better understanding. Have you ever felt stuck with your watercolor progress? That's exactly why I have created my Patreon watercolor art community. Inside, you will find a step-by-step learning journey, carefully designed to accelerate your growth week by week. This is not a random content, it's a proven roadmap where you will always know what to focus on, how to practice, and how to apply each lesson to your own art. And that's the best part. You will be learning alongside a global community of artists, sharing your progresses, asking questions, and celebrating growth together. So, if you are serious about improving your watercolor skill, this is the fastest and most inspiring way forward. Join today and begin your structured journey to becoming the watercolor artist you have always wanted to be. Right, so let's start doing this. The very first thing I just wanted to bring in here is that when we paint the first layer, so let's start painting the first layer. So your first layer should be very lighter, and let me just bring in here. I'm using burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, making things slightly darker for this cap. So very rapidly I'm just working in here and this color, the variation has to come here as well, because you see here the color which is given here right from top to here, it's the same color. But basically if you look at the any of these bottles or any reference image, if you're just using it, you'll realize that it's not just a one color. There are several other color also there. Like in this example, there is a ultramarine blue, there is a the burnt sienna, and you can just bring that up everything here. Now when I applied the first layer, I have taken this color water here, and can you see that the light is actually left here? This light is very important for you, because in this one you see there's a no value, because when you're working with the light, when you're leaving this kind of a light here, and you're also working with the variation of colors, like this example, I've used here darker, and when we came here down, I'm just using a slightly a very little burnt sienna. So this is something, it gives you the variation into an artwork, and as a first layer when you are doing it. This is the very first layer, right? Now let's work on the glass part. This has to be very lighter. Now see in this example, this is the glass. The effect of the glass is actually gone. It doesn't look like it's a glass. It looks like anything else, but certainly it's not looks like a glass, right? So there should be a proper amount of light and the value which you must need to have. So in this example, I'm just having a very little. I'm just trying to bleed it down here into this, and I'm just trying to leave this highlight, this white highlight here. Okay, And I'm not going to work everywhere, it's just wherever it requires. I'm just trying to bring in here like this. Very subtle, very little work to bring the essence of the glass. Okay, now when we are working on this, we are still on the when we I mean the there are good amount of water is already here, so I can readjust things. I can just can you see here, so there's a lot of zigzag here around. Now we can just fix it here, and if you wanted to make things more darker here, this is the opportunity where we can just do it here, something like this. So it's just kind of a value we can just bring in here. Still it's so wet, but we are just trying to bring in here all that thing. Okay, now see, can you just see the differentiation between these two, right? And we got a very interesting highlight here that gives you a feel that yes, this is basically it's a glass. And just don't stick with the one color. Even if it is a glass, we can just have some color relatively from here, so that brings the you know the feel that it's actually creates the composition, it brings the harmony into your artwork. Okay, so now we are still in the first layer, and this is exactly we are missing here. The first layer itself, when we have done it here, just if you just ignore this one, this is the second layer. If you look at the first layer itself, it's like there is no evidence of the lightness, the objects, its character, right? So that is absolutely missing here. So you must have to be a little cautious about it when you are making such kind of work. So now I'm just making these whiskey bottle, and that's a very contrast burnt sienna I'm just working with. This is again, we can just make things something like this, and we can also bring, it's not just about one color, there we can just use it yellow ochre as well here, and it's very vibrant. It's vibrant, and we can make things. You can just take a decision that okay, how you want to make this. Is it where the light is coming from, which side it is coming from, etc. So those decisions you'll have to make it here. Now we have one glass here, right? So for that, this particular thing actually going all the way down here under the reflection has to come here till here. Now it's just coming all the way here. It's transparency. We just wanted to bring that transparency, and everything is happening in the first layer itself, right? Now you see that. Right, and now we can just make a very random patches here, very lighter patches, and this is the time we can also make things wherever we need to have some lighter and darker pigments, that also we can just bring in here, since things are still wet. Okay, I'm making things. I'll very little darker. And now this is the time when you have to see the variation of color here. We'll come back here again. We'll just complete this, and this is the bottle. The important part in watercolor and layering, in fact we are just in the first layer, but we are still not reached to the layer, but I mean the second layer where the exact value starts working. But this is so important. The first layer itself is very important because that creates the entire story basically. All right, so this is the okay. Now let's come to this glass, and this glass is also we need to have a good amount of light and the shades here. And first layer is something gives you all that opportunity to do that. So I'm just making this the first layer. The whole idea here is how we can make things more lighter, and same time how you are also working with lighter and darker pigments. Now in this example, like there is a very interesting the spirit and it's radiant, that has to come here. It's just something like it's just like you have to take a decision very consciously. If you look at the even any reference image you are looking at, just see that what value it creates, where the light is coming from, which all the places where the shades are falling, etc. So that becomes so important. Okay, and I'm making things here very sort of light and that kind of thing. Okay, now let's come back to here. Now if you look at this one, the glass and this glass, it's like a pour. The color has been poured here. There is no amount of the light where the source of the light is. What value it contains, that also is missing. It's just like a color has taken and it just though it gives you a feel, that it gives you an idea that okay, this is the bottle and there is a one glass, which is good. I mean, I'm not denying that it's not good, but thing is like when you are learning watercolor, when you are trying to achieve something, I think initially you'll have to have basic understanding of how you are actually applying the layers. So you look at the first layer. I'm leaving my paper visible here wherever I want to keep this for the highlight, the light, the source of the light and those things. I'm just leaving in the first layer itself, which is also done here, but somewhere these all the places where its value has been lost. Okay, now come back to this one where this glass is having very interesting texture. I don't want to go pretty much high degree of detail into this. I want to make it very lighter and very much loose kind of a work here. Okay, now once we have done this, we have a very interesting the reflection. It should look like a glass. It's a material, and that is the most interesting part in watercolor. If you're able to get that, the kind of a material you are showing in your artwork, that's the beautiful moment. Okay, so I'm just trying to achieve that. Still it's wet, so I still can go ahead and make some certain kind of a texture here. Okay, okay, so I think this is pretty good. Now this is the time when we say, okay, my first layer is completed. uh, this is something where a lot of beginners are basically making a lot of problems, that they are not allowing this layer to get dry. Okay, they just keep working on it, and because of that, you see there's a lot of the bubbles happens. There's a lot of the cabbage kind of effect it comes here. So I think the important part here is to let it dry. Okay, and just don't now see here, it's still things are wet, and if I'm going to put another layer, gone, finished, it'll not look good. It'll work something like this, and that's exactly the problem you see here in this. And uh, and you can just fix it here to get it, let it dry, and then come back after some time. And if you want to have your whiskey, just go and have whiskey and come back here and just start working on the second layer. Okay, so now you see this is dried, and this is the time when we can just go ahead for the second layer. Now look at the second layer, what they have, it's how it's been done. So I understand after a certain time when you'll have on a very skilled kind of a work where you wanted to have things to be very much loose, you can just do that. But at least for the initial phase of your watercolor learning, you should stick with the more like whatever looks like the most desirable stuff, more like relatable. Okay, so I want you to just make it more like a what is there. I mean, you understand my point. Like, you don't need to be very much an abstraction. Just try to make things uh, whatever it is there, as a shape, whatever you are creating. If it is a bottle, just let it be the bottle, but don't create a box. What this is what I mean. Okay, so now the second layer, I have just taken very little water. In your second layer, you should not have too much of water, and this is the basic problem you see into this also. Most of the people, they're just using too much of water, and because of that it looks very faded, washed out kind of a work. So now you need to have a proper amount of ratio, and since this is the glass, so you need to be extra careful about that. Now I'm just making this one slightly, very little work here and there, like this, and making things pretty much convincible. Okay, it should look like a glass. Thing is, like, I don't want to make too much of patches here, otherwise the moment you'll give a lot of patches here, brush strokes, things will not look good, and you'll end up with doing something like this. Everything is like messed up. So don't do that. Just keep your patience. Just hold yourself. Like, okay, I'm not going to do anything at this moment. So now let's work on the spirit, and I'm just making again this darker value of this. I'm using a very little water and making things slightly darker, and this is the time when we can just make this uh, now see here what it is done here. Now we can just make things more something like this, and very neat clean patch. If you want to make anything like you make sure that you're just applying that patch here. I'm just using, now see things are, there's too much of water. I'm just reducing the water here. I'm just mopping the brush, and boom, here it came, something like this, here and here. Very little, don't take so much of too much of patches or strokes, otherwise it will become, if you'll apply too many patches, things becomes very patches all over, the patchy all over, and it's very difficult to manage that. So make sure that you shouldn't have too much of patches. Okay, you can just do it in a later point when you feel confident to manage that, but this is specifically for all the beginners who want to do something like this. So I think that's the great strategy for you. Now I'm going to make a line here, and I want to also put some branding. So before that, I just wanted to give an outline sort of thing here. Dried brush, absolutely dry. There's no water, and sometimes it's good to use the dry brush technique as well. I will just create another video which will talk about the dryness, the brush dryness, etc. Okay, so here it is, your the second layer. Okay, now you got this point, right? Now let's also apply the branding. So you don't need to be very much specific to that. Just make sure that some bit of thing. You can just write whatever the name you want, your favorite brand. Yeah, that's a cool thing. I'll just write something. So class. Just give some name. Yeah, that's enough. I think you don't need to be very specific about it. If you want, you can just do that. Now see like how I'm just making things, these highlight will come here just because of this one. I'm just applying this patch here somewhere to get things more realistic. Okay, now coming back to this, I'm adding more darker pigments here into the glass, but make sure that the highlight which is here in between these two, that should not disappear, because that's the key point. If that get disappear, things will look, it won't look good. So make sure that it should be there. And I'm just making again one patch here. Okay, and then actually I'm just applying wherever you need certain amount of light. It's mostly about its light and depth this at this moment. It should be more like a very conventional approach to don't let this light fade away. If you'll just pour the color over it, gone, it won't look good because it needs light, it needs the highlight, and you need to retain that. You must, and that will happen only when you are using very subtle amount of water. If you'll use too much of water, even though you don't want, things will happen because the water will not listen to you. It will just flow all over the place. So it's very important to use water wisely. Okay, so I'm just trying to give the patches here and there. Now don't be very much cautious about what will happen if I'll do something like this, what will happen to those, all of that. Don't just think about, just take a color. You must look at your reference. I'm looking at the reference image. Unfortunately, I can't just show that because of the copyright issue. But this is something you can definitely do. Look at the reference image, what the value it contains, and then you will see things are coming up the way you want, everything coming perfectly in that way. Okay, keep these lights visible wherever it is required. Okay, now we need to have certain amount of light here into this, and that's basically it's a glass. It gives you the feel of the glass, the transparent glass. And I'm just trying to give some highlight here and there. These highlights are pretty much important. Okay, but make sure this is such a tiny stuff, so we should not use too much of water. That's why I'm saying from the beginning, you should not use lots of water in second layer. Be very much cautious about how much water you need to choose in your second layer. Okay, and things are get settled. Okay, so I think this is pretty good what we have got here into this. Now if you just compare these two, you will clearly find out the value of when you look at when I first showed you this, you said, wow, this is great. Now what about this, right? I'm not saying this is not good, this is also good, but the problem here is when you are learning watercolor, you should not just ignore the fundamental of watercolor. Okay, so I think this is what I wanted to communicate into this from this painting. You can certainly make more darker pigments here based on the lightweight the light is coming from, and etc. So those things you can just do that here. We can make a more darker patches, etc. You can just do that. There are a lot more possibilities there when you want to make a more realistic kind of work. But I think this is the good enough. Let me just apply the certain amount of work here. All right. So yes, this is now you can clearly find out from this too, and the layering. When you are trying to give a layer, you must have to follow 2-3 things. One is when layers are applied over layer that hasn't dried completely, it will just make the things so very messy. Okay, number one. Number two is too much of water in second. Don't use too much of water in your second layer, because if you're going to use it so much of water, things will happen something like this. Or third thing is lose of transparency and glow, because when you use too much of pigments, like a very dark pigments like this, so what happens is you are actually reducing the luminosity of your artwork. The paper is white, right? And there is no transparency you see into this, right? Whereas you can just see some of the transparency here. Most of the places you see here the beautiful transparency here and all that. So to preserve that transparency, you must have to have that the lighter patches that gives you a very interesting look and feel. It won't look on a very opaque or heavy. It looks very heavy, right? If you look at this, very heavy, and because of this heaviness, it's very difficult to get the luminosity of this artwork. So you are actually killing the entire transparency. Fourth thing is hard edges. So some of the places where you see things are actually you are working on and you're just forgot, and you'll see some hard edges all over the places. So that is another big problem in layer. The edges, like you see here, the edges here, you see the edges in this one, you see some edges are here, which is an unintentional. I mean, I have not done the intentionally, right? So you can control over it. And I hope this video has given you some of the interesting aspect of working with layers. I'm very happy that you watched this video and you have learned something from this. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, I'm inviting you to join my watercolor art community. This community where you want to be, because you will be meeting a similar mindset of people and the same values and the same vision what you have, and you will also have a very structured watercolor learning week by week. And it's not just about the watercolor, it's more about making a connection, making a real connection with a similar mindset of people. And I'm seeing a lot of people, they are improving, they are going from one level to another level, and this is how their progress is happening in this platform. So I'm inviting you to join this global watercolor art community, and I'm sure you're going to like it. And I'll see you next video very soon. You can watch this particular video for you, and if you wanted to be part of this Patreon watercolor art community, you can join this community clicking on this. Thank you so much and have a great day.